Welcome to episode 37 of the Generation Gap Book Reviews. I'm Kristi the mom.
I'm Lena the daughter.
In this episode, we are going to review two books that is they're going to both be updates. So two books that the other has read and reviewed a while back, and then since then the other one read it, and then they're going to give their thoughts in this episode.
Yeah.
So when we do this, we are not going to give all of the details like the synopsis of the book or stories or anything like that. And we're not going to revisit what the other person thought, although they might pipe in
Mhm.
when the other person's talking. So if you want to know more about any of the books we're talking about, we'll tell you what episode number to go back and listen to. So, for example, in episode 6, Lena reviewed Resistance by Jaye L. So I have now read the book.
And what did you like about it?
Well, I liked the world she set up. And there are two main characters, Chiron and Jace. And I particularly liked Jace's story arc. He is a so there's in this world she set up there are 5 different races, like actual races, humans, and then also some fictional things called Cretes and Ryrics and some other things. Besides humans, only 2 other races really come into play in this book, and one of them, the main one, is Ryric. Ryrics are said to not have any soul. I don't know that she's made that clear whether that's a real thing in her world or if it's just that people are prejudice against each other. But Jace, as a half Ryric, he tends to be treated very, very badly because apparently Ryrics, either way, whether they actually have souls or not, tend to be pretty mean and unpleasant and violent and such. So Jace, being a half Ryric, is often treated pretty badly, like he's a terrible person before anybody gets to know him and stuff. His story arc was really, to me, it was really well done. He has come to follow Elam, the one true God in this world, but he still struggles so much with, but does Elam even want me? Do I even have a soul? Is there anything to save? And I really like how that all plays out. As far as Chiron goes, sadly enough, I'm going to get to her more in the part about what I didn't like about the book, but I will say I appreciated that she's also a follower of Elam, and she's fairly young in her faith, as is Jace, but her in particular, she is struggling with. She's not just a perfect. She's not just, oh, I'm following Elam now and I will always be perfect. She really struggles with fear and trusting in him. I think that was good. It didn't make her just be perfect right away. The author didn't. And though I'm not trying to say that that is all there was to like about the book, I think anything else I might say about that is necessarily needs to be involved with also talking about what I didn't like. So moving on to that part, my biggest issue with this book is it just took way too long to get interesting to me. I don't remember how long this book is. It's not short. It's not super long, but it's not short. And I felt like the first few hundred pages could have been cut from the book,
Mhm.
and things that happened in those pages could have been sprinkled throughout as flashbacks or backstory, or things that got discussed, or maybe even not said,
Mhm.
and it would have been good. It would have been a lot better. Chiron's story, we got into the synopsis with Lena's review in episode 6, but to at least briefly mention, because it's kind of important here, the resistance, the name, refers to people who are followers of Elam and are being persecuted by the the government led by a self-appointed emperor of their country, and there is a main camp of followers of Elam that are really starting out on the defensive, just trying to survive. And Chiron is brought to that camp around halfway through the book, but until she comes to that camp, everything else just. I'm not saying there weren't some exciting things that happened to her, but it just took so long to get into it.
Mhm.
And during that, we also have Jace. Jace's kind of his backstory leading up to when Chiron comes to this camp as well. And I guess his just was more interesting to me.
Mhm.
Whatever happened to him, there are some things that happened to him that probably didn't need to be given in detail either. If the author had decided to cut out a lot of Chiron's story, she probably could have summed up some of what happened to Jace as well. But really, it was just Chiron's story that bogged it all down for me. Um, it also, another thing that didn't help is I feel like the author was wanting to write a third person objective book, but instead she wrote third person subjective, which, in the difference for anybody who doesn't know, is objective is the narrator is basically outside of everything and can knows everything that's going to happen and can tell the reader everything, and it's more of a broad scope, fluid kind of thing. Like there are, I don't know that very many people write this way anymore, but there are a lot of older books that are like that. The Lord of the Rings series
Wives and
is like
daughters.
that. Yeah, Wives and Daughters, where you're not really
Mhm.
piped into anybody's head at any given time. You might hear, you might know, you might hear what some people think now and then, but for the most part, you don't feel like you're following any one character.
Mhm.
Third person subjective, you are following. It's not I and me, it's still she and he and stuff, but you're still mostly tuned into one person. And if the author wants to show more than one perspective, they might jump back and forth between some. And if they do it well, you don't feel like you're getting dizzy. The problem here isn't necessarily that she didn't make me dizzy necessarily, but she had 8 point of view characters. So in a third person subjective, each person that you follow them specifically for at least a scene, that's a point of view character. And she had, I don't know, I didn't count, but it was around 8, and that's just way too many. It was just, I mean, we had so many minor characters that had maybe one scene. And I guess we were just supposed to, it was just supposed to help us to see something about one of the main characters that she couldn't otherwise get across. But I think it was just a bad choice and it was bad pacing. So I think that the overall parallel here to, I'd say, biblical Old Testament times is done really well overall. It's interesting, and I liked that angle of it.
Mhm.
But because most of what I really liked about the book came in the second half or so, I just I couldn't give it a very good rating. So my rating for this book was 3.5 stars, which made you really sad, didn't it?
Yeah.
But on the plus side, and I'll go ahead and say this now, I'm not going to talk about the second book, but I have read the second book already, and quite frankly, I'm probably going to read the third one before we review the second one. But we are going to review the second one because this is a series that Lena has gone most of the way through and really, really liked. So I think we're going to keep reviewing it
Yeah.
because of the fact that everything I really liked about the first book came in the second half when things picked up. I had high hopes for the second book, and I was right.
Mhm.
So I liked the second book quite a bit more than the first one. So I'm really looking forward to continuing right now. And we'll come back to this series in the future. But that's it for Resistance.
In episode 18, Mom reviewed Annabel Lee by Mike Nappa, and now it's my turn because I read it like I think it was August of last year. Man, I get to say that now. 2025 was last year. Anyway, I'm getting off topic already.
So what did you like about this book, Lena?
Well, I read it within a day. Granted, I was reading a lot that day because I was at a reenactment, but I also probably would have read it pretty fast either way because it was really good
Well, and
and
if
it
you were reading
was
a book that you didn't really have a lot invested in, you probably would have just put it down and done something on your phone for a while or
true.
so.
Well,
Oh right, you were not just at a reenactment, it was during the reenactment.
because it was Mackinac, so it was until like 8 p.m.
Ah. Yeah, yes, maybe you would have read no matter what.
No, not necessarily.
You might have gotten up, walked around.
Sometimes I just sit and stare
Okay.
because
All
there's
right.
nothing better to
So it
do.
was better than sitting and staring. That's good.
It was very suspenseful, and even from the first sentence, which was, it's not a spoiler to say, like,
No, it's the first sentence. It can't be much of a spoiler.
it was like, Uncle Truck has a dog that eats fingers if you feed him to it just right, or something like that. And I just remember, and I was sitting next to my step grandmother, and I just went, you should, I'm gonna read the first sentence of this book to you. And then she was like, she looked at me like I was crazy.
What are you reading? Oh, my mom recommended it to me.
But it was just so hilarious. So then, but it was suspenseful and thrilling, and I was very eager. And the great thing about reading books at reenactments, especially slower reenactments at least, is I get to randomly talk about my books to my grandfather and my step grandmother because I, even though I'm never very good at explaining what's going on in my book very well because I have to give all the backstory and all the context. So like it's usually pretty out of context when I'm explaining stuff vaguely or like randomly. It's just it's fun to see the reactions to random stuff that's happening. So
And well, the
like
first line of the book isn't exactly out of context, is it?
but yeah, so suspense interesting. It was very different. They had like 3 different POVs, but all different. There were third persons, and then there was Annabel Lee, who was first person. So that was very interesting.
Yeah, and I remember being concerned because normally that kind of changing between because it wasn't just first person. She's first person present tense, and
yeah,
the other two are third person past
that's
tense.
true.
And I remember I've read books like that. They drive me crazy, but this one I never had a problem with it. It never bothered me.
Yeah.
Probably because it was just so suspenseful and fast moving.
And I did really like the dog. I cheered for the dog several
The
times.
finger eating dog.
The finger eating dog.
What did you not like about this book?
Some of the characters, I was like, do I like this person? Do I not? I really don't know. It was like a fighting battle the entire book where I was like, why'd you do this thing? I don't like you. And then I was like, okay, I kind of like this person again. And then it's like, I don't know why you do this thing. I don't like you.
Well, so that's something you didn't like about the book? Because to me, that sounds like really well drawn
I mean,
characters
yeah, that,
that are well rounded
yeah,
and
that's true.
realistic. Because it
That's
can be
true.
like, real life, you can be like that with a person.
That's true. Okay, yeah.
So really, there wasn't anything you didn't like about this book.
No, I can think of
Well, then what did you rate it?
5 stars.
I would hope so.
I literally read it within a day, so.
Yeah. That's it for Annabel Lee, then, right? Like with Resistance and the rest of the Ilion Chronicles, we will probably revisit this series because the other books, there's 2 more books in the series. I've read them all, and Lena is planning to keep going, so we will probably come back. And they're sort of standalones, just with the same 2 main characters, Coffee and Hill, which is what the series is called.
It's called the Coffee and Hill trilogies. I don't
There's
think
more
so.
than one trilogy? Is there more of these out there? Because I'd love to read more of them.
That's not. No.
Anyway,
Join us next time when we will be reviewing The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan.
until next time, I'm Kristi,
And I'm Lena.
and this is
Generation Gap Book Reviews.